writing someone a random email might not help. So what helps is telling someone, I saw that you are on a holiday is not personalization, but if you could guess or understand their pain point and address that I think is the personalization that works. If I am to target Flipkart as an SDR or a salesperson, what I'll basically do is first I'll look for the intent signals that are available. Again, the data is coming from Reo.Dev. So some of the intent signals, there is a developer talking about problems with Kafka on GitHub. That is an intent signal, which basically tells me two things. Intent signal is again someone else from Flipkart telling how can we optimize costs on Kafka. And then there is another message on let's say Reddit, which we also track. And the other intent signal is again someone from Flipkart are reading blogs on Confluent about cost. So these are all the intent signals that are available and indicating that Flipkart might be a good target. We will create a personalized landing page for Flipkart from Confluent. Now this personalized landing page, we used a tool called Lovable to generate it. There is the CTO, talk to a Kafka expert, very subtle CTA. And we have a video here which explains why Confluent is better than Kafka. Now, this is the most interesting part, right? So now what we will do is, we will build this page real time, right? This page prompt. So I've created this prompt, which is quick way to create this entire page. Now you don't need to go to the marketing person to create a landing page. You can do a lot of stuff by yourself. That is what we were doing. So this is how we do it.
Welcome and thank you for joining us today. We're going to discuss a very interesting topic. How do you use developer intent signals to prospect CTOs and book meetings? And leading the session is someone who's been doing this in and out at Reo.Dev, our head of demand, Jend Muni. Muni, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Disha. Hey everyone, thanks for joining. Quickly, I'm Muni, as Disha introduced. I lead demand generation here. My responsibilities generally are doing outbound, getting meetings for Reo.Dev. But in this role, the advantage I have is I experiment with a lot of tools. We have a very small team, so we have to do more with less. And I explore a lot of AI tools out there and also use a lot of intent signals that we ourselves generate and also that is available for us. So as quick introduction about Reo.Dev, I see a lot of customers here, but for others, so Reo.Dev is an intent platform. We provide intent signals for dev tools. What we do is we track developer activity across platforms where developers spend time and identify purchase intent. We generally work with GTM teams like sales, marketing, and we tell them which accounts to reach out, what is the good time to reach out, who you're supposed to reach out to, and what is the message, right? That is what we are doing and trying to do. And about today's session, what we wanted to do was introduce our playbook, how we are actually doing outreach and seeing results, and then apply that to our targets and our customers, which is basically the developer tool market, right? So we'll discuss developer intent signals and AI, managing them so that we can actually prospect technical audience. When I say AI, what we will also do is we'll look at tools that you can use, personalize, and actually make it work. So couple of housekeeping things. So we have, I think all of you will be on mute. So there is chat available and Disha is monitoring. If you have any questions, please throw it to us and we will come to that at the end of the session. Before starting, I wanted to take you through two myths, right? So these myths, we came across these things because we've been speaking with a lot of dev tools and a lot of peers in GTM over past 2 years or so. One myth is basically cold outreach is very ineffective when you're targeting CTOs and VP engineering. Nothing is further from truth because I have scores of examples where it actually works. And if you see large dev tool companies out there, they operate huge sales teams, huge SDR teams, which basically means cold outreach works. But making it work is a question, right? So writing someone a random email might not help. So what helps is, are you sending it to the right person at the right time with the right message? So that is the most important thing when it comes to cold outreach. If you do that well, and you're writing to CTOs, VP engineers, technical, sometimes even developers who are engineering managers, you'll still get responses. And the second myth is AI been the buzzword for the past 1-2 years right now. There are tools popping up every day, promising you random things. I've been testing a lot of them. I've been talking to peers about a lot of them. What I've understood so far is we are not in a place yet where AI can completely automate your workflows and then do your outreach for you. Very rarely I see people telling that AI SDR and things like that are being working. What I see right now AI to be is a productivity tool. So that is how we use it. We use a lot of AI tools, but we use that, one, to increase our productivity, two, we also improve experience to our prospects. So this is how we are able to use and drive output. Whenever I come to an angle where I want to automate my workflows or I want to do my outreach through an AI, it generally didn't work so far. Again, finger crossed, it might work in future. But right now, what I see is AI as a productivity tool, nothing more. And we will explore a couple of tools today. I'll tell you our experience at Reo.Dev, right? We work with 100 DevTool companies. We have like 100 DevTool customers. And almost all of those 100 DevTool customers came through outbound. It is cold outbound. The reason our outbound worked is basically like when we write messages or when we send something on LinkedIn or when we share material, we always think in this particular order, right? Is that message and the content is relevant for the person I'm sharing? Is it personalized? When I say personalized, I often see people understanding it very differently. Telling someone, I saw that you are on a holiday is not personalization. But if you could guess or understand their pain point and address that I think is the personalization that works. And then the third thing is well time. You need to send them that message when they might need it, right? So like when we do this, like it generally works. And more than 50, like we reach out to CXOs, VPs, and some of our customers are on the call, they can attest to it. Whenever we write these outreach emails to all these people, we at least I have more than 50 examples where people said, I generally don't respond to outbound, but this one is on point. So that is the response we generally get. Now, I wanted to share that playbook and also take it in the context of like dev tools through this session. And again, like numbers speak louder, right? Like, so through our outbound, what we are able to see is like we're able to do a 17% response rate, which means like our outbound is very different. Like, so we don't count on emails, we count on companies that we are targeting, whether we are able to speak to the right person in that company. That is a response rate. And when we say response rate, it is positive response rate. We're able to get to like 17 to 20%. Last month has been 20%, has been great. We booked like more than 500 meetings and we have like 100 companies that we work with, right? So definitely we are doing something right with a small team. I'm not saying like we are amazing, but like we have a very small team, but we are able to still put throughput out there. That is because like an adoption of AI tools and also intent signals, right? That is the main magic. So what we do is, again, we use our own tool and we also use a bunch of tools because our tool is made for dev tools, and then marry all those intent signals and then put them into a bunch of tools. We create personalized videos, we create personalized landing pages, we do a lot of research through AI, but we don't send emails through AI or like we don't write emails through AI. We do that by ourselves because we didn't see success there. Once we marry these two, that is when like magic started happening for us. So when you are like, so the first part, right, like which is basically like intent signal engine. So any intent signal engine that you are picking for your outbound, warm outbound, or like cold outbound, you need to ask three things. Is this engine telling me who should I target? When should I reach out? And is it giving me hints on what might be the messaging that work, right? If these three things are answered and you are able to take that information and then put it into your outbound, that is generally it works. Now, what we will do today is I will wear a hat of an SDR from Confluent. Again, this is all like the data that I'm going to show is not actual data, but it is very representation of real scenarios. I will take a hat of like a salesperson in Confluent prospecting Flipkart. Again, a lot of people might be from different fields on the call. So I'll quickly explain what Confluent does, what Flipkart does, right? So Confluent provides a managed Kafka service. Kafka is a technology, open source technology, which you use for data streaming. If you have huge need for sending data, you have millions of transactions happening, billions of messages happening, you generally are using Kafka. Like almost all companies that are big generally use Kafka. Now, what Confluent does is they provide a managed Kafka service. Given Kafka is open source, people generally run into multiple problems like scalability, cost, like security and other things, and sometimes expertise. So Confluent basically solves those problems and then give them a managed Kafka service, which is Confluent. Now, the target, which is Flipkart, right? Flipkart is competitor of Amazon in India. It is biggest e-commerce company in the country. They do crazy amount of business and like almost half of India is on their app, right? So it's a big customer. Now, if I am to target Flipkart as an SDR or a salesperson, what I'll basically do is first I'll look for the intent signals that are available. Again, the data is coming from Reo.Dev, but again, any intent signals, right? So some of the intent signals that I would basically use, for example, like there is a developer talking about problems with Kafka on GitHub, telling that, okay, I'm scaling and it is not working for me. That is an intent signal, which basically tells me two things. Flipkart uses Kafka and they're also facing a scaling problem. And then the second intent signal is again someone else from Flipkart telling how can we optimize costs on Kafka. Now this also tells me like they might have cost problems. And then there is another message on, like, let's say Reddit, which we also track, that the person on Reddit basically saying, big e-commerce company, I work for a big e-commerce company and we use Kafka to manage our high sale day, but we are facing issues with scalability. And the other intent signal is again, someone from Flipkart are reading blogs on Confluent about cost, and that person is a head of engineering, head of data engineering. So these are all the intent signals that basically are like that are available and indicating that Flipkart might be a good target, right? And then other signals are basically like if Flipkart is hiring a lot of Kafka engineers, and also let's say someone joined Flipkart who is head of data engineering and he's a past Confluent customer. Once you have all these intent signals, right? Now, how do I use these intent signals and then present it in a way to Confluent so that they can take interest, or else like start a conversation at least with Confluent, right? So the intent signals basically we gathered so far are 6 Flipkart developers are active on Apache Kafka, and then like Flipkart developers are raising issues on Kafka scalability and uptime. Flipkart developers are asking questions about cost. Developers are asking questions about Kafka on Reddit, about their like some high sale day. And then Flipkart is hiring for Kafka devs and brought in head of engineering, and Flipkart devs are reading blogs about optimizing costs. Now, these are all the intent signals I have. Now, what we will do is we will create a personalized landing page for Flipkart from Confluent. Now, this personalized landing page, we used a tool called Lovable to generate it, but there are other tools if you are comfortable with, like Gamma.ai, and then there is Firebase.studio. These tools are very much like parallels. You could use any, but we've used Lovable. We've been comfortable with that. So let me quickly take you through the page that we actually created, right? Now, I want you to also remember the intent signals I just said, right? Like I need to deliver that context in the page itself. Now, what I'm telling here is first, like the first thing is novelty factor, right? Like you created a page, like a one pager meant for like Flipkart, and you are saying Confluent for Flipkart. That itself gives you some leeway in terms of people being intrigued about it. And then in Reddit post, we saw that someone mentioning there is a high sale day. If you just do a Google search, Flipkart's high sale day is Big Billion Day, which comes around Diwali, where all of India is shopping. Now, what we are telling here is manage the Big Billion Day rush with Confluent's managed Kafka. If someone of consequence, someone actually facing this problem, read this, then it hits the right point, right? They're already facing this issue and we're talking about it. Now, there is the CTA, talk to a Kafka expert, very subtle CTA. It is not very on your face, book a meeting or book a demo. It basically offers you help, nothing more. And then if you go to the second part, already from intent signals, we know that they are using Kafka and they're facing some issues. Now, what we are going to tell them is what are the pros and cons of managing Kafka. And we have a video here which explains why Confluent is better than Kafka. And there is a no more here. Once you click, it opens up an entire table comparison between Kafka and also Confluent. Now, this is the most interesting part, right? So here we use all the context. From our intent signals, we captured 3 problems that Confluent is facing, right? One is cost, another is scalability, and there is uptime. Now we cherry pick those case studies, which are like for Swiggy. Swiggy is very, I would say it is second biggest Indian e-commerce company, like it is in delivery. So it is very similar to the amount of transactions it does to Flipkart. So they are talking about costs. By transferring from self-managed Kafka to Confluent Cloud, Swiggy was able to free up valuable resources, reduce costs. So now you're basically putting familiar companies in front of them, and they have done it and reduced costs. It creates a lot of reliability and trust. And the second is like very similar company, eBay. They are able to, they're doing 1 million transactions per second with no data loss with Confluent. Now again, that also creates a level of understanding that they might help us, because we are also going to face huge amount of traffic coming Big Billion Day. And there is another company which said like they were able to ramp up very quickly, right? So we experienced about 10 years of growth in 6 weeks. I didn't have the time to build a team, build this from ground up with Confluent. We could turn that around very quickly. Again, this also tells like, okay, you can implement it very fast. Now, these 3 case studies are meant so that like they are more intrigued and interested in learning about the solution. Now, what we also have is like Confluent is a big company. They have a lot of customers. We created a table of very similar companies in either e-commerce or like retail space. so that they can recognize one of those customers and then like maybe take interest. Now, coming to the actual pitch, right? Like we discussed, like scalability, uptime, and cost are the issues. We're basically addressing that. So Confluent gives you elastic scalability, like more than GBPS workloads, guaranteed resiliency, 99.99% uptime. Like on Big Billion Day, if they lose a minute, it's $1 million. So it is very important for them. And low cost of ownership by eliminating our operational burdens. And we are also giving an infographic which tells them like you will basically save 60% of your cost, right? And then there is a simple city of, again, talk to Kafka expert and calculate cost saving. So that is the page we have built. Again, it might get a little technical that we are talking more about Confluent and Flipkart, but the context I'm trying to bring here is you have to marry what they are looking for and what they are searching for with your messaging that is going out to them, right? So now what we will do is we will build this page real time, right? So I've created this prompt, which is like a quick way to like create this entire page. I will share these prompts with you after the call itself. You can do it by yourself. It is pretty easy, but it already has all the right words. Like Big Billion, all the intent signals are already plugged into these prompt sections. We will just run this prompt, and it will take some time for us to build that page, and it will build a draft of it. It will look very similar, but there are things we need to do after that. But like while we do that, we will also go through the prompts. Let me quickly open Lovable. And just paste the prompt and run it. Now let it run, and let's quickly go through the prompt itself, right? Here the prompt, so with respect to Lovable, like, so one thing that happened with all these AI tools is now natural language is your code. Like you could basically tell stuff. And I wouldn't say the technology is evolved so that developers can do it, but like at least we GTM people can do it. Now you don't need to go to the marketing person to create a landing page, or you need to go to like someone very like the creative person to create some sort of creative. You can do a lot of stuff by yourself. That is what we were doing. So this is how we do it. So the initial set of prompt, right? We are just saying that create a landing page for Confluent, targeting Flipkart. It could be for anything. Let's say for one house, right? Create a landing page for like one house, targeting like whatever company. You should have a hero section. You should compare like our product with these products, and you should have a testimonial section, and you should have company logos and then footer. And then what we will start doing is we'll start explaining what we should put in each of these sections, right? So for more context, the first template is a little bit of effort. You need to ensure that the first template is done right. And what you can do after that is you can just put a small prompt saying, duplicate this page for this target, and these are the intent signals. You could just send it that and then replicate it. That is how it is scalable. Nowadays, what we do is I've created the template and gave it to SD apps. What they do is they just make a copy of the like page and then put the information that they would like to share with that company, and the page is made. So they need not go through this entire prompt. This is the first template set that you need to create so that you can copy it. Now it basically says white background, 2-column layout, left column, you should have Confluent logo on top, and then heading is this. On the right column, you should have the logo image. And when you are prompting this, you also attach those images on Lovable. So like there is an option to attach, and you click it and then you add it. We'll do that in a minute. And then now we talk about the navbar. We basically say on navbar, I should have testimonials, and I also should have the talk to a Kafka expert button, which should open the calendar. And then there is a consultation dialog prompt, which is talking about how should the calendar look. And then we created a section Kafka comparison, like where we are comparing Kafka with like Confluent with a YouTube video. And we have a testimonial section. We are explaining like Swiggy, eBay, and Instacart are the testimonials that we want to put. And then we can just take a screenshot of the testimonial and add it to Lovable. And then the company logos, you just add a grid of 6 columns, and then you attach all the logos, it will just add. And then advantages section, that is the last part of it. You just add the 2 columns, and right side you give the image and left side you give the text. And the footer column, which basically says, is Confluent right for Flipkart heading, 2 buttons side to side. So once you add all these prompts and run it, which I've done, so it basically starts creating it like this, right? So if you see, it is very similar to the page that we were just looking at. The only difference here is you don't have these images right now, but everything else is already created. Now, all you have to do is you just go here and attach and click, let's say, Confluent logo. hey, this is Confluent logo. Just add it to the nav bar and also hero section. And that should do the trick. It will just add. Once you basically added all the images that you want, what you do then is you click publish. Here you will have an option to publish it to a random link which Lovable gives, or you can also connect with a domain. So you can click manage and add your own domain, or you can buy the domain and then add it here. And once you publish, what happens is it gets updated and then you can share that link with anyone out there. Now the link is created. The more and more images that you add, it will start populating it properly, and then like you can start sharing the entire page with whoever you want to share it to. Right now, this page is very customized, very meant for this particular company. It generally creates intrigue. People are interested to look at it. And the one of the interesting things that we found out is when we share these pages, right? Like we generally reach out to a lot of folks, and a lot of folks tell us like, I'm not the right person. What we generally do is like we share that link over LinkedIn and say, okay, that is fine. Can you share it with your team? What then happens is they just share that link internally in Slack, and then that gets circulated. So that is how we got to decision makers a lot of times using this. And I also wanted to quickly show you like few of the pages that we created for ourselves. So this is one of the landing pages that we created. It is more or less a replica of our own website. We used it for ads. And there is an event invite page that we created. We basically used it when we were doing an event, and like the RSVP and everything happened from this page itself. And then like we used it for like trial sign up. It actually works, functional trial sign up. But I can't stress enough on this fact. The tool is secondary and the intent signals and the context that you are using is primary. So if that is not there, however beautiful your page is going to look, that is not going to yield results. What your one pager gives is some level of intrigue so people can go through it, and it makes it very easy to for a reader to consume information. So it is important that you have right information on the page itself. Yeah, so the page is done. And I also wanted to show a few other pages. Like this is another page that we created, again using a lot of data from Reo.Dev, comparison, features and everything. What I wanted to show is like now this is the template that we created, and now this is the duplicate that we created from the template. So we created a template for Adobe, and then we asked Lovable to create a another like instance for Uber, and it more or less did like exactly the same template. And with all the we changed the features and everything because our intent signals are saying something else is interesting for Uber. I think more or less that is what I had for today's session. But I think it is not more about me telling like how we are doing it and how we are supposed to do it. I think there will be a lot of, it will be great to take questions, and like if you have any sort of questions about how to do it, or like anything about like outreach or even those the tools I mentioned, happy to take those. Yeah, I see there are a lot of questions which I wo- I didn't see earlier. Let me quickly go through them. Yeah, there is a question, how is it better than sharing a PPT, right? It is not crazily better if you ask me honestly. The point is it gives you like two things. It looks very good and it is very easily shareable. But the more important part is like what you are actually putting into the document or into the like page itself, right? If you are not putting the right content, right personalization and everything, it makes it even slightly easier to do the personalization at scale. Like you basically can create multiple pages just giving it intent signals. For you to create a PPT, it will take a lot more time. I think it will save your time. It will look a little better. It is a shareable link, easily shared internally. I think that is how it is useful. But the more important part is like what you're actually putting into the document or the page or the PPT.
How is it replicable? Like once you've created this page, how easy is it to replicate for other prospects?
Yeah, so that is not at all complicated. What you have to do is, let's say this is the page. You go to settings. I just realized before this webinar started, like this tool UI changed a little bit. But so in this, you have this remix this project. Once you click remix, it will create a copy, and you just prompt it asking to like change few things, and then like the page is done. Disha, I think there are like a lot of questions or comments on the chat rather than on the questions.
Yes. So I have answered some of them. I will share the ones which are unanswered. So one of the questions is, what are some of the subject lines that you use in your outreach to ensure that people actually look at the landing pages that you've created?
Got it. So I'll be very honest. We on the first email we don't send the link. Anyone that is doing outbound, say, would know, like if you put the link in the first email, your deliverability takes a hit, right? So our first email is generally like a small text email, and but our subject lines are very much in line to create curiosity. Generally, something we say is companies evaluating your competitors, or we identify some intel already. Like let's say, for example, your company, we identify some intel on your company that this people or this company is evaluating your product that you might not know. We just put that into subject line, which will make you open. So our open rates are generally very good. And once you open that, the email messaging is generally intriguing. But what we do after that is we send the link in the follow-up email. Once you open, we send it in the follow-up email, and it worked best for us on LinkedIn because LinkedIn is a much more conversational medium. So when we have start a chat, like after the first message, if they don't respond, also we share the pager there, and then people just open it and look at it.
Great. One other question is, what is a good response rate to expect?
Good response rate to expect. Again, we measure response rate slightly differently. Like people measure it on emails, like you would send 100 emails, how many you will get back. What we measure is we are targeting 50 companies this week, how many companies are we booking meetings with, or else like how many companies responded positively to us, because you don't hit the right person at right time. So that we generally do like 20 to 25% of companies respond back to us positively, and then we book meetings nearly like 15-16% of folks, which improved over time. Like if you take the overall thing, it is 17%. But on emails itself, I don't have a number like to say exactly, because we don't measure that way.
Understood. The other question is, do you track website analytics to learn more about how your target user is interacting with the landing page? And what
Yes.
actions do you take in the lead conversion journey?
Yes. Yeah, that is a great question. I think I almost missed it. So what we also do is when we share this one pages, right, on Lovable, you can add, so we add our Reo.Dev script, which tracks every interaction that is happening on the page. So for example, we send the link to someone and they click it, they land on the page. Sometimes we even de-anonymize the person, or like at the very least, we know the page is opened by someone from this company and they went through and the time spent and what they read. So we track all that within our tool because we add our script onto that. So it is very simple to add, but like, so you basically put your Reo.Dev script into that, and then like we track all the engagement that is happening with this one pages. And we also put a different demo link just to see like whether people are booking. Sorry, we put the different Calendly link on the one pages to see like whether people are booking through that or not, because like other places we have a similar Calendly link. But yeah, like we track end to end, like once we send it. It is visible on our platform itself, the way I was showing you, right? Like, let me show you here. Yeah. So this is just a screenshot of our interface, like viewed pages, Confluent blog. We generally see here, like, let's say Confluent one pager. So whatever name we give, and like, so what are they reading? Like, what are they clicking and things like that. Yosha, so pure conversion. So conversion, yes, but also a lot of times, like cold outreach, people didn't respond. We send the one pager, they respond back. So that happened a lot also. Again, after that, we had more conversation before booking a meeting, but it definitely even started conversations for us, but definitely again helped conversion a lot. Oh, thanks for the compliment, Soumya. Oh, Soumya, sorry, like we do not have a self-serve portal right now, but our setup is very straightforward. It takes 15-20 minutes. Happy to like do a demo and then like set it up for you. Hey Ayush, I see that there is a question on like how are we identifying? Ayush, that is the secret sauce, but like to put it very simply, we have one of the largest developer databases in the industry, and we have too many data points and one of the best de-anonymizing engine. So as Disha said, we would love to do a demo and explain all about it. Yes, Vinod will share all the steps and prompts. I'll share more prompts that we used that we didn't present in the demo today. Richard, do we get this prompt from Reo.Dev? I think it is already answered. So, Richard, like what you get is you get signals. Basically, Reo.Dev will tell you, okay, this company is looking at cost, scalability, these are the pages that they are reading and everything. You could input that into a prompt, which we will share, and then like create the page. Again, there are too many tools you can use to create. Like we don't create ourselves, but we provide the intent. What are the other sources of Galena, like questions about problems a prospect is having? Does it know this from GitHub? What are the other sources? Yes, GitHub issues, GitHub stars, folks, communities, social platforms, first party sources. Again, like one of the interesting things is we track a lot of open source usage. So we track CLI command execution, package manager installs. Yeah, like nearly like 20 plus data sources. Would love to explain more in a demo, Galena, like if, yeah, at a later stage.
There's one new question. Do you have enough signals for security tools used by devs and engineering teams?
Do you have enough signals for security used by devs and engineering teams? Sarath, yes. It like our tool is set up in a way to track what you actually want. It is more configuration. Configuring the tool in the right way. We have a lot of info and a lot of tracking happening on the backend, but we need to understand what are the intent signals that are very interesting for you. Again, I don't know when you mean security tools. Do you want to track like who is looking at sneak or like who is looking at asking questions about security? Again, we need to understand a little bit more onto like what are the signals that you are specifically looking for, and then like we'll be able to configure that into the tool.
Muni, we have one more question. What kind of signals would qualify a company for creating a one pager like this? Do you prioritize in any way?
Yeah. So for us, we have a very, so again, like I wouldn't use our example. Our cases are very different. I will actually talk about, let's say, our prospects, like for dev tools, right? So there need to be good amount of activity. Like one thing we do in the tool itself, we tell you like one of the interesting things is we prioritize accounts for you, right? So once you track all the intent signals, you will see like how much activity is happening from which companies and are like at what stages they are they just exploring, or they evaluating, or they building a POC, or they like deploying like some other product. So we track all this and bucket things. I think at the right side, which is basically people are starting to build a POC, are seriously evaluating, right? Like looking at your competitors and all. So that is where I think like you should start investing in things like this. And on the left side, it is more on like how do you nurture them and then bring them more into the fold where they start exploring your product a bit more in detail.
One more question. So we mentioned signals from Reddit, but Reddit is fully anonymous. How reliable is the signal that we get from Reddit?
Kuldeep, in all honesty, I agree. And we do de-anonymize a very little of Reddit, but we track the conversations. What we understood over time is like we basically put in all the conversations that are related to you from Reddit. And a lot of times, what happens is if you read the conversations itself, you could kind of guess who it is, but sometimes it doesn't. Like, to be very honest, Reddit is like very anonymous. We only do a part of it. But yeah, like but GitHub, for example, we de-anonymize up to 70% of it. Like anyone on active on GitHub, like we'll be able to de-anonymize to a large extent.
I think we have time for another couple of questions.
Richa, not at this moment. Our tech team is working very hard to include more and more signals. Some of the signals we recently added are like things like job postings. So we do very well with technographics. So that is a huge pain point in the community because wherever you go in with respect to technographics on different tools, right, you don't get the right words. You don't get Postgres. You don't get Kafka. Like so, we are able to identify those. The way we are doing is we are looking at job postings and seeing companies are hiring for which skills, and a lot of developers in those companies are like skilled in which technologies, and like we condense, and our engine is able to tell you like accurately like which technographics or like which technologies this company is using. And yeah, we track a lot of activity from LinkedIn. We track first party assets, and we track CLI command executions and a lot more. G2, I'm pretty sure like it is coming soon, the way our team executes.
I think one last question. So, if you're a dev tool, do you target the company or do you target the developer?
Yeah, great question, right? Like, so dev tools, like our experience, and like we've spoken to a lot of companies, and I'm relating this answer to the success of those companies. So whenever a company did two things, we generally see that they are being more successful, right? What they do is like they do a multi-approach outreach, which is basically you reach out to developers and you reach out to buyers. When I say reach out to developers, it is not sales. What you do is you help developers, right? Like you build a community, you help developers, you engage them, you bring out a champion from them. And when the developer activity is high, like a lot of developers are engaging and you are getting those signals and everything, that is when you reach out to the buyer and tell them this is what we do. I'm guessing you have this problem. a lot of devs are already using our product, and then we already have some champions that are talking about us in your org, like would you like to check us out? So that is where we saw success. It is that multi approach. You engage developers and then you reach out to the buyer at the right time.
And you get this buyer information from Rio as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like the way we organized Rio is you have companies, you have developers, and you have buyers. We don't suggest you to reach out to developers with a sales pitch. So, but you do have that information to engage them. So, you see activity on an account, engage developers, and then eventually reach out to buyers. The way we predict buyers is also very interesting. We see the activity, like where it is happening, with who, which developers are active. We basically connect dots and identify who is the buyer closest to that particular signals, and then identify, okay, this is the person you should reach out. Like one of the problems a lot of people tell us is like there are 10,000 people there, like how do I reach out to them? So we have filters on personas and then location where the activity is happening, and then this is that you can like dial it down to like maybe like 5 10 buyers. Disha, any more questions?
No,
I
I think we're done with the questions. I hope everyone enjoyed the sessions and had something to take away. We'll share the recording soon. We'll also share the prompt file and the swipe file for the landing pages that we've created.
Folks, I'm also sharing my LinkedIn here. So if you have any questions, do reach out. Like happy to help. Thanks everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you.